Hello, welcome to my channel, The God Code Exposed. Unbelievable things that happen after death. A surgeon has revealed the truth about the afterlife. The afterlife is a topic that has been discussed for centuries. What happens after we die? Do we go to heaven or hell? Is there a place in between? Or is death simply the end? While no one can say for sure what happens after we die, some people believe they have had experiences that have given them insight into the next realm. From near-death experiences to past life regressions, there are many stories of people who have shared their thoughts on what lies beyond our mortal plane. So let's take a look at some of the most incredible stories ever told about the afterlife and see if they can shed any light on this age-old question. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss more videos like this one. Number 5. Unbelievable. It's hard to believe, but there are things that happen after death. It may sound crazy, but it's true. There are cases of people who have died and come back to life, and they all have the same story to tell. When you die, your soul leaves your body and goes to a waiting area where it meets up with loved ones who have died before you. This is a place of peace and tranquility where you can stay for as long as you want. Eventually, though, you will be called forward to meet with God Himself. He will show you all the good and bad things you did in your life, and then decide whether you go to heaven or hell. Now, obviously, this isn't something that everyone believes, but those who have had near-death experiences and come back to tell the tale swear it's true. Maybe it's just a dream, or maybe there really is an afterlife. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Number 4, death. If you were to ask a group of people what they think happens after death, you would likely get a variety of answers. Some might say that we go to heaven, while others might say we're reincarnated into another life. There are even some who believe that death is simply the end. However, what if there was something in between? What if when you die, your consciousness simply transfers over to another plane of existence? Well, it turns out that this is exactly what happens according to Dr. Peter Sellers, a well-respected surgeon and author of several books on the subject. Dr. Sellers claims that after death, your consciousness enters into a state of limbo where it can observe its own funeral and even communicate with those still living. He also says that during this time, the deceased person is able to look back on their entire life and see it from a different perspective. This can be a painful experience for some, as they are confronted with all the mistakes they made during their lifetime. But it can also be a time of great growth and understanding. Eventually, the consciousness of the deceased person moves on to an even higher level of existence and is reunited with God. Number 3, surgeon. When it comes to the topic of death, most people would rather not think about it. However, for Dr. Peter Sellers, death is a daily reality. As a surgeon, he sees death up close and personal, which has given him a unique perspective on what happens after we die. According to Dr. Sellers, death is not the end. Instead, it's simply a transition into another realm of existence. In fact, Dr. Sellers claims that he has seen evidence of this firsthand. In one particular case, he was working on a patient who was clinically dead. Suddenly, the patient's eyes opened, and they looked directly at Dr. Sellers. "I knew in that moment that there was more to life than what we see and feel," said Dr. Sellers. "It was like the patient was trying to tell me something." Although Dr. Sellers couldn't understand what the patient was trying to communicate, he knew that he had just witnessed something extraordinary. Since then, Dr. Sellers has become fascinated with the topic of death and the afterlife. He believes that by studying death, we can learn more about life. "Death is not something to be feared," said Dr. Sellers. "It's something to be embraced. When we die, our consciousness simply moves on to another level of existence." Number 2, truth. The truth about the afterlife is something that has been pondered by humans for centuries. What happens when we die? Do we go to heaven or hell? Are we reincarnated? Or is death simply the end? There is no one answer that will satisfy everyone, as beliefs vary widely depending on religion, culture, and personal philosophy. However, there are those who claim to have knowledge of what happens after death, such as Dr. Peter Sellers, a retired surgeon. Dr. Sellers says that he has seen the afterlife firsthand and that he can provide irrefutable proof of its existence. According to Dr. Sellers, when someone dies, their consciousness leaves their body and goes to a place where they can observe their funeral. He claims that this is a common experience for all humans, and that it is a way for us to see the impact we have had on the world around us. Dr. Sellers also says that, after observing their funeral, the consciousness of the deceased person moves on to an even higher level of existence where they are reunited with God. Number 1. Afterlife. The afterlife is a hot topic these days, especially with the release of the popular Netflix series. But what does the Bible say about the afterlife? What happens when we die? Does the soul go to heaven or hell? Or does it just disappear? There is no easy answer to these questions, but believers find comfort in knowing that there is a loving God who has a plan for each of us. The Bible teaches that when we die, our souls go to be with the Lord. This means that we will be in a place of peace and happiness, free from pain and suffering. Those who have placed their faith in Jesus Christ as their Savior will spend eternity in heaven, which is a place of perfect joy and fellowship with God. On the other hand, those who have rejected God's offer of salvation will face eternal separation from Him in hell. Hell is a place of torment and suffering, and it is a fate that should be avoided at all costs. Do you believe in the afterlife? Let us know in the comments below. As a society, we tend to avoid talking about death, but death is a part of life. We all have to die at some point, and it's important to be prepared. If you have faith in God, then you know that when your time on earth is done, you will go to be with Him in heaven. But what happens in the meantime? What happens to your body after you die? Is your soul wandering around for eternity? These are difficult questions without easy answers, but one thing is for sure: death is not the end. There is so much more that awaits us on the other side of this life. For some of us, the thought of death is terrifying. We worry about what will happen to our bodies and our souls. But for Christians, death should not be feared. In fact, it should be embraced, because it means that we are one step closer to being with God in heaven. When someone dies, their soul goes to be with the Lord. This means that they are in a place of peace and happiness, free from pain and suffering. For those who have placed their faith in Jesus Christ as their Savior, death is not the end. It's just the beginning of a new and even better life. In heaven, the righteous will spend eternity in perfect joy and fellowship with God. They will never have to worry about anything again or suffer from anything. They will be surrounded by people they love and care about, and they will spend their days worshiping God and enjoying His presence. On the other hand, those who have rejected God's offer of salvation will face eternal separation from Him in hell. Hell is a place of torment and suffering, and it's a fate that should be avoided at all costs. So what happens to your body after you die? Your body will be left behind on earth. It will be buried in the ground or cremated and turned to ashes. But your soul will go to be with God in heaven or hell. So what does the afterlife hold for you? It all depends on whether or not you have put your faith in Jesus Christ as your Savior. If you have, then you can rest assured that you will spend eternity in heaven. But if you haven't, then you need to make a decision today. Don't wait until it's too late. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos. Also, let us know what you think about this video in the comments below.